IXL section S19, standard form, graph, and equation. All right, so last class we went over how to find the x and the y-intercept when an equation is written in standard form. Today you're going to be graphing the equation using the x and the y-intercepts, and I'm going to show you how simple it is. And just like last time, it's something that's very simple and very useful because it comes up a lot during Algebra 1, especially in the exam at the end of the year. Okay, but before I do that, I just wanted to do a real quick review, a real quick reminder. I'll go fast, but a real quick reminder, okay, that the y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis, and the y-intercept, x is always 0. When you have the y-intercept, the coordinate for x is always 0. So right here again, the y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. And whenever you have the y-intercept, the coordinate for x is always 0. And same thing right here. All right, the y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. And the coordinate for x is always 0 in all of those situations. That's always the case for the y-intercept. Recuerden de la última clase, porque hoy vamos a estar usando lo que hicimos en la última clase, pero haciendo los gráficos. Y les voy a enseñar qué fácil es. Y esto es algo que sale mucho en los exámenes. Así que primero que nada quiero repasar para que se recuerden que el Y-Intercept es donde la línea cruza el axis de Y, y siempre el Y-Intercept, para los coordinados del Y-Intercept, el coordinado de X siempre es 0. Que lo pueden ver aquí, y aquí, y aquí también. Okay, and then the other one is the X-Intercept. So the X-Intercept is wherever the line crosses the X-axis. And for the X-Intercept, it's the other variable that's 0. So for the X-Intercept, it's the Y coordinate that's going to be equal to 0. All right, same thing here. For the X-Intercept, that's where the line crosses the X-axis. The Y coordinate is always 0. And same thing right here. All right. So if I'm talking about the X-Intercept, I got to make Y 0. And if I'm talking about the Y-Intercept, I got to make X 0. It's always the other letter, excuse me, that you got to make equal to 0. Okay, así que el X-Intercept es donde la línea cruza el axis de X. Y para el X-Intercept, el coordinado de Y siempre es 0. Okay, así que si estoy hablando del X-Intercept, tengo que hacer Y igual a 0. Y si estoy hablando del Y-Intercept, tengo que hacer X igual a 0. Siempre es la otra letra que se hace igual a 0. All right, so let's look at our first example. Again, you're going to be graphing. All right, all your problems are going to look like this. They're going to give you an equation in standard form like you see here, and you're going to graph it. It's actually, you could do it very fast and simple. And in fact, you could do it mental math, almost all of them. Let me show you how. What you're going to do is just put the X and the Y-intercept, and IXL will connect the dots, will connect the line. Let me show you what I mean, all right? So I got this equation in standard form. So let me first find the X-intercept, all right? If I want to find the X-intercept, to find the X-intercept, I'm going to make Y equal to 0. So I'm going to have 5X minus 4 times 0 equals 20. 4 times 0 is 0. So I'm just going to have 5X equals 20. That means X equals 20 divided by 5. That means that the X-intercept, when Y is 0, X is 4. When Y is 0, X is 4. This is X and this is Y. All right, so, I mean, you don't have to do this. I'm just pointing it out so that it makes more sense to you. All right, all you got to do is when X, so the X-intercept is 4, so I just put a dot right there. That's the first thing I'm going to do. All right, let me just repeat that real quick in Spanish. Así que primero, para encontrar el intercept de X, hice Y igual a 0. Cuando hice Y igual a 0 y resolví para X, X es 4. Así que aquí escribí los coordinados. Esto no es necesario, pero para que lo entiendan mejor. Cuando Y es 0, X es 4. Y cuando pongo un punto en esos coordinados, aquí es donde queda. Pero simplemente con ver esto lo puedo hacer. X es 4, así que pongo un punto en el axis de X para 4. Ahora voy a hacer lo mismo para el intercept de Y. Alright, now let's do the Y-intercept. I'm going to erase this a second. But let me put the dot here. Alright, so the Y-intercept. Y-intercept. I'm going to make X equal to 0 and solve for Y. Ahora, para el Y-intercept, hago X igual a 0 y resuelvo para Y. So 0 times 5 is 0. So I'm just going to have negative 4y equals 20. So that means that y equals 20 divided by negative 4. So y equals negative 5. Boom, I'm done. I could have done both of those mental math. If you're good at algebra and at multiplying and dividing, you could just look at them and like, well, let me connect these dots and I'll keep talking. All right, but once you put those 2 points, IXL will just connect the dots with a line. All right, so you, whoops. So you don't have to worry about connecting the dots. Once you put the 2 dots, IXL will connect them, okay? A la vez que ustedes ponen, that came out horrible. Positive 4 and negative 5. Positive 4 and negative 5. A la vez que ponen los dos puntos, IXL conecta los dos puntos. All right, so look, you could have done it mental math. Like if I look at this, to find the X-intercept, make Y 0. So I could just like, in my mind, go like that. And in my mind, just move the 5 and divide. Okay? Pueden hacer esto en la mente. Para encontrar el intercept de X, tengo que hacer Y igual a 0. Así que eso cancela todo esto porque 0 por cualquier número te da 0. Y simplemente hacer, ok, 5X es igual a 20, así que divido 20 por 5 y eso me da 4. Ahora para el otro hago la misma cosa. Alright, so 4 and negative 5. Alright, so if I want to find the Y-intercept, I just go like that. Make X equal to 0. And now just move the negative 4 and do 20 divided by negative 4. And you'll see you get negative 5. Okay, para encontrar el intercept de Y, hago la misma cosa. Si X es igual a 0, eso cancela todo esto. Y simplemente tengo que mover el negativo 4 y dividir. Alright, let's look at it. That's how all the examples are going to be. Alright, so same thing here. I'm going to find the X intercept. Remember, as soon as you understand it, I highly recommend you just start doing the IXL. This is one where I could tell you that all the examples are just like this, all right? So if you understood that first example, feel free to start doing the IXL. I'll continue to do examples in case anybody needs it or in case anybody's logging in late. All right, so the X-intercept, to find the X-intercept, I make Y equal to 0 and solve for X. Para encontrar el intercept de X, hago Y igual a 0 y resuelvo para X. So the X-intercept is 2. In other words, when Y is 0, X is 2 in this equation. En esta ecuación, cuando Y es 0, X es 2. Así que el X-intercept es positivo 2. Ahora voy a encontrar el intercept de Y. Alright, so for the Y-intercept, I'm going to make X equal to 0. Okay, para encontrar el intercept de Y, voy a hacer X igual a 0. That'll cancel all of this, so now I have negative Y equals 8. Remember, there's an invisible 1 here. So you could think about this as Y equals 8 divided by negative 1. So Y is going to equal negative 8. In other words, when X is equal to 0, Y is equal to negative 8. And again, IXL will connect the 2 dots. Alright, así que cuando X es igual a 0, Y te da negativo 8. Alright, so again, to find the X-intercept, I'm going to make Y equal to 0 and solve for X. Para encontrar el X-intercept, voy a hacer Y igual a 0 y resolver para X. Again, you could do this mental math. Esto se puede hacer en la mente. Oh, whoops, I almost made up. That's wrong, sorry. I was just kidding. X equals, X equals negative 10 over here. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing for the Y-intercept. I'm going to make, for the y-intercept, I'm going to make x equal to 0. Para encontrar el intercept de y, tengo que hacer x igual a 0. So all this cancels out, so now I got negative 5y equals negative 20. So y equals negative 20 over negative 5, so y equals positive 4. And then just connect the dots. All right, so to find the x-intercept, I'm going to make y equal to 0 and solve for x. Para encontrar el intercept de x, hago y igual a 0 y resuelvo para x. This is another easy one that you could do mental math. Este es bien fácil, lo pueden hacer en la mente. So x equals negative 5. All right, so when y is 0, x equals negative 5. Cuando y es 0, x es igual a negativo 5. So here's the x-intercept. Now for the y-intercept, para el intercept de y, I'm going to make x equal to 0 and solve for y. Very simple. You should do it mental math. So negative 5y equals negative 15, which means that y equals negative 15 divided by negative 5. So y equals positive 3. So when x is 0, y equals positive 3. Cuando x es 0, y es igual a positivo 3. So once again, to find the x-intercept, I'm telling you, all these problems are the same thing. But knowing this, once again, is really useful. To find the x-intercept, I make y equal to 0 and solve for x. Para encontrar el intercept de x, tengo que hacer y igual a 0 y resolver para x. Alright, so when y equals 0, x equals 7 in this equation. En esta ecuación, cuando y es igual a 0, x es 7. So I'm going to plot that right there. Now for the y-intercept, I'm going to make x equal to 0 and solve for y. Okay, ahora para el intercept de y, hago x igual a 0 y resuelvo para y. Alright, so when x is 0, y equals negative 9. Cuando x es 0 en esta ecuación, y es igual a negativo 9, que sería aquí. So there's my y-intercept and my x-intercept. And again, IXL, when you do it, will connect the dots and make a nice straight line. So once again, I'm going to find the x-intercept. And to find the x-intercept, I got to make y equal to 0 and solve for x. When I make y equal to 0 here, I'll be left with x equals 80. So that was fast. X equals 80 over here. So when y is 0, x is 80. That's the x-intercept. Okay, cuando y es 0, x es 80. Que eso es mi intercept de x. And now for the y-intercept, I gotta make x equal to 0. Okay, así que para encontrar el intercept de y, voy a hacer x igual a 0. So that's going to give you this. Again, you can imagine an invisible 1 here. So to get rid of that, you could do y equals 80 divided by negative 1. So y equals negative 80. So when x is 0, y is negative 80. Cuando x es 0, y es negativo 80. To find the x-intercept, make y equal to 0. To find the x-intercept, I make y equal to 0 and solve for x. So x equals negative 8. That one was easy. And to find the y-intercept, I'm going to make x equal to 0. Para encontrar el intercept de y, tengo que hacer x igual a 0. Okay, so the y-intercept is negative 4. And there's the equation of my line with just those 2 points. All right, with just those 2 points, I can graph the line. A few more examples. So again, to find the x-intercept, I'm gonna make y equal to 0 and solve for x. Okay, para encontrar el intercept de x, voy a hacer y igual a 0 y resolver para x. All right, so when y is 0, x is negative 40. So my x-intercept is right there. Ahí está mi intercept de x. And my y-intercept, to find my y-intercept, I'm going to make x equal to 0 and solve for y. Para encontrar el intercept de y, voy a hacer x igual a 0 y resolver por y. So y equals negative 160 divided by negative 8. So y equals positive 20. So when x is 0, y is 20. Cuando x es 0, y es 20. To find my x-intercept, I'm going to make y equal to 0 and solve for x. So 9x equals 45. So x equals 45 divided by 9. So x equals 5. So when y equals 0, x equals 5. That's my x-intercept. Okay, and now to find the y-intercept. To find my y-intercept, I'm going to make x equal to 0 and solve for y. So when x is 0 in this equation, y equals negative 9, and that's my y-intercept. Okay, cuando x es 0 en esta ecuación, y es igual a negativo 9. All right, this is the same thing, just the numbers are getting bigger, but you do the exact same thing. So to find my x-intercept, I'm going to make y equal to 0. And solve for x. Para encontrar el X-Intercept tengo que hacer y igual a 0 y resolver para x. So x equals 2000 divided by 20. So x equals 100. So when y equals 0, x equals 100, which is right there. That's my X-Intercept. Cuando y es igual a 0, x es 100 en esta ecuación. Now to find my Y-intercept, I'm going to make x equal to 0 and solve for y. Para encontrar el intercept de y, voy a hacer a x igual a 0 y resolver para y. So when x is 0, y is 40. Cuando x es 0, y es 40 y ese es mi y-intercept. Whatever. Guys, let me check my laptop battery real quick just in case. 43. Let me plug it in. Give me 1 second, please. All right, guys, just a few more examples. All right, so when the numbers get bigger, like in this one, if it's fine to use a calculator if you feel the need to. So to find the X-intercept, I'm gonna make y equal to 0 and solve for x. Para encontrar el intercept de x, primero hago y igual a 0 y ahora resuelvo para x. So x equals negative 18,000 divided by 60. So x is going to equal negative 300. So when y is 0, x is equal to negative 300, which is right here. Cuando y es 0, x es igual a negativo 300. All right, so negative 300. Now for the y-intercept, I make x equal to 0 and solve for y. Para el intercept de y, hago x igual a 0 y resuelvo para y. So y is going to equal negative 18,000 divided by negative 36. And when I divide that, I'm going to get 500. Y equals positive 500. So when x equals 0, y equals 500. Cuando x es 0, y es 500. So there are my x and y intercepts. Guys, let me do this last one and then I think wait. All right. We got 3 more examples that I'm going to do. 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry, 4 more examples. All right, let me try to pick up the pace. All right, so to find the x-intercept, I make y equal to 0 and solve for x. So 7x equals negative 280. So x equals negative 280 divided by 7. So x equals negative 40. And to find the y-intercept, I make x equal to 0 and solve for y. So there's my x and y intercept. Ahí está el intercept de x y y. Alright, so to find my x intercept, I'm going to make y equal to 0 and solve for x. So 28x equals 25,200. So x equals 25,200 divided by 28. Yes, I'm going to use a calculator for that. I don't want you guys to think I'm actually doing that in my mind. Alright, so that one gives me 900. So when y equals 0, x equals 900. Cuando y es 0, x es 900. Así que ahí está mi x-intercept. There's my x-intercept. Now for the y-intercept. To find the y-intercept, I make x equal to 0 and solve for y. Para encontrar el intercept de y, hago x igual a 0 y resuelvo para y. And y is going to equal 200 when I divide. I use the calculator for that one as well. All right, there's times when you should try not to use a calculator, but there's times when it makes sense to use a calculator. And for these types of numbers, you should definitely use a calculator. I'm using one for this part. So when x is 0, y is 200. Cuando x es 0, y es 200. And there are the x and the y-intercept, the x-intercept and the y-intercept. And then I just connect them, and there's the graph of my line. Almost done. I believe there's two more examples that I'm going to do. I know I've done a lot, and they're all pretty similar. All right, so to find the x-intercept, I make y equal to 0 and solve for x. One thing's for sure, if any of you, for those of you who have done like the last two assignments and are doing this assignment, I think you're never going to forget how to do this, which is good because like I say, this comes up a lot and it's so simple. And it's really useful to understand for Algebra 1. Alright, so x is going to equal 480 divided by 48. So my x-intercept is going to be 10. El x-intercept es 10. And now to find the y-intercept, I'm going to make x equal to 0 and solve for y. So y is going to equal negative 80. And there's my x and y intercept. Whoops. All right. And this is the last example. Este es el último ejemplo. So to find the x-intercept, I got to make y equal to 0, and I solve for x. Para encontrar el x-intercept, tengo que hacer y igual a 0 y resolver para x. So 24x equals 7,200. So x equals 7,200 divided by 24. So x is going to equal 300. So when y is 0, x equals 300. And then to find the y-intercept, I make x equal to 0 and solve for y. Para encontrar el intercept de y, tengo que hacer x igual a 0 y resolver para y. So y is going to equal 7,200 divided by negative 9. So y is going to equal negative 800. So that means that when x equals 0, y equals negative 800. Cuando x es 0, y es negativo 800. So I have my x-intercept here and my y-intercept down there, and there's the graph of my line. Alright guys, that was the last example, so that concludes today's lesson. Once again, the assignment is IXL section S19, standard form, graph and equation. Remember, you got to get up to 100 points. It's due by 6 a.m. the next day that you have my class. And remember, if you're planning to make up any work, please do so as soon as possible because the semester is about to end. La tarea es IXL sección S19. Recuerden que tienen que llegar hasta 100 puntos y que lo tienen que entregar antes de las 6 de la mañana el próximo día que tienen mi clase. Si van a hacer tarea que no han hecho, lo tienen que hacer pronto porque el semestre termina pronto. Alright guys, have a great rest of your day and I'll see you guys next class. Alright.